You're listening to the Music Educator podcast with your host, Bill Stevens, the 21st century music educator man.
Podcasting from beautiful Leesburg, Virginia. Welcome to the Music Educator podcast, bringing you the latest tips, tricks, and practical advice you can use tomorrow. Here's your host and fellow music educator, Bill Stevens.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Music Educator Podcast. My name is Bill Stevens. It is an absolute pleasure to be your host today. And today, in Season 4, Episode 4, we're going to talk about the key elements of piano care. Let's do it. Now, every degreed music educator has some experience playing a piano. Most students of music have either taken some sort of group piano course, or have perhaps taken independent private lessons. But what happens after your coursework in college? Does the piano get incorporated into your teaching? Or does it collect dust and sit in a corner of your music room? In this summarization and discussion, we're going to learn more about the key elements of piano care from Dr. Steve Lindeman from musicianstoolkit.com. The acoustic piano. To begin, let's start by learning about the acoustic piano. The modern acoustic piano, which is used in most music rooms, typically has 88 keys. These can be from grand or upright pianos. Earlier pianos during the 19th century had either 64 or 73 keys, depending on the make and model. Grand pianos create sound by having the hammers go up and then hit the metallic strings. This requires a little more force than its counterpart, the upright piano. In contrast, the upright piano is set up in a horizontal fashion. As a result, the hammers of the upright piano require less force to create a sound of the same intensity. When you open up the piano, you'll notice it has a series of thick metal strings. The left or bass end of the piano is struck with bass strings for the first octave. Next, the strings switch to double strings and then changes to triple strings for the rest of the piano. It is important to note that the second octave and treble range uses thinner metallic strings than the bass end of the piano. The acoustic feel. The acoustic piano gives you more of a realistic and organic feel. Dr. Lindeman notes that with an acoustic piano, it is much easier to sing and be expressive with an acoustic piano. Part of the reasoning behind this is because the acoustic piano strings are struck as opposed to an electric piano, which is not. The pedals. Modern acoustic piano typically has 2 or 3 pedals at the floor near a performer's feet. Pedal on the right is called the sustained pedal. Press this pedal and you press a key on the piano, there are a series of dampeners that are raised up and allows the sound to sustain. Consequently, when you lift your foot off the pedal, the sustain stops. The second pedal is called the soft pedal. What happens here is that the pedal physically moves the hammers from side to side so that they are striking less of the actual string. As a result, this makes the sound softer when pressing the soft pedal. In addition, when you press the soft pedal, you'll see the keys shift slightly. If you happen to hear a slight groan when this happens, this means that you need a qualified piano technician to go ahead and lubricate it. Many of the more modern pianos also have a third pedal in the middle. This middle pedal is called a sostenuto pedal. The function of this pedal is that it sustains just the bass strings. This enables the performer to sustain any of the bass notes or chords in the left hand and play the treble melody without it sounding muddy. Sound production. Everybody wants to sit down at a piano and perform a beautiful song, but how is the sound actually created? The way a modern acoustic piano makes a sound is from hammers which are raised when you press the keys, which strikes the metallic strings. The harder you press the keys, the louder the sound will be. Conversely, the softer you press the keys, the softer the sound will be. The hammers are traditionally constructed out of wood and are covered by felt, and this is what actually creates the sound. As you can imagine, there are literally thousands of moving parts. Dr. Lindeman conveys, you want to take particular care with it. Now, a word of caution. Taking care of a piano is important. These instruments should be respected like any other musical instrument. Be sure not to put drink or food on the piano. It is very easy to spill into a piano and is one of the major causes for pianos needing to be repaired. In addition, the metallic strings are sympathetically deadened at the end by 2 felt strips. Be sure to never remove these pieces of material. In general, the piano is not a toy, and it's wise not to mess around with the insides of it. Tuning the piano. Tuning the piano is a complicated process. It is best to use a certified piano technician when doing this. When you open the piano, you can see that it has a series of pins, called a pin block. Each string is individually attached to one of these pins. To tune the strings of the piano, each pin must be adjusted with a special tuning wrench. Consequently, to the length of time and complexity of this process, the certified piano technician is the best person for this job. The piano's environment. It is important that you are aware of the environment that you place a piano in. Once the piano is tuned, it can be affected by the temperature and humidity. Those who live in a dry climate will want to use a humidifier to control the levels of humidity. This keeps the wood frame of the piano from drying out and needing more tuning. In contrast, those who live in a very humid environment, such as those who live in the southeastern United States, you will want to get a dehumidifier to help maintain a constant temperature and humidity level. Generally speaking, a piano should remain in tune for several months. If you can avoid moving a piano, it is best, because it is likely it will move out of tune. Obviously, this is not always possible, so be sure to plan out how you will transport your piano so that there is a minimal chance of needing additional tuning. Piano acoustics. There is much more than having a properly tuned piano required to create a beautiful melody on a piano. You can improve your sound by having the top portion of the piano opened up. This allows for more of the sound to come out. You can also choose to lower the lid halfway, and this is called the half stick. By doing this, it makes the piano sound a little quieter. Most importantly, it is important to know how to avoid making a bad sound on the piano. You never want to bang on the piano. Dr. Lindeman points out that we all have seen an unaccompanied child come up to a piano and start banging on it as hard as they can. He points out that the child probably cannot hurt the piano. However, they'll probably help make it go out of tune quicker. That is just one of the many reasons why pianos should really be treated with respect. Moving the piano. The piano is a very heavy instrument. It is made of materials such as metal and wood that can get damaged. Fortunately, many pianos have wheels. When moving the instrument, be sure to move any obstructing items. This includes any cables or wires. You will also want to close the lid of the piano as well. Storing the piano should be done in an area that has a stable temperature level, humidity, and out of direct sunlight. All of these factors could contribute to having to tune the piano more often. The piano bench. The piano bench is the proper piece of furniture to sit on when you're playing the piano. To properly sit on a piano bench, make sure it is at the right height where the elbows are level with the keys. Good quality benches are called artist benches. These benches have a screwing mechanism on the sides that will lower and raise the height of the seat. General piano maintenance. To emphasize the point, do not want to put any liquids or food on a piano. Despite this warning, people will still do this on accident and spill beverages that will eventually seep into the piano. Now, if this does happen, be sure to clean up the mess immediately with a soft rag or damp cloth. For general cleaning and dusting purposes, use a damp cloth to swipe the piano. Try to avoid any commercial furniture cleaners because there's a chance you will deteriorate the wood. It is better to be safe than sorry. Electronic pianos. In contrast to acoustic pianos, there are electronic pianos. Unlike their counterparts, electric pianos are easier to transport and store. There are many manufacturers of electronic keyboards such as Yamaha, Roland, Nord, and Casio, and all of these companies are the best in the industry. When choosing a personal keyboard, it is not 100% straightforward and easy to do. It depends on what feels best to you in terms of the feel of the action, the weight of the keys, and the available sounds. Depending on your budget, you may end up spending anywhere from $50 to $10,000 depending on the features you want. Electronic keyboards vary in terms of the number of the keys they have. Popular keyboards such as the Yamaha CP4 has 88 keys, whereas others such as the Nord Electro 5 have less. The electric piano is designed to sit on a sturdy stand, and it is important not to skimp out on purchasing a cheap, wimpy keyboard stand because it will need to handily hold the weight of the keyboard. Electronic piano inputs. The electronic piano has a variety of inputs it can use and serve the needs of its users. It is important to understand that these keyboards need to be plugged into some sort of amplification system. Typically, keyboards are plugged into a speaker of some sort with a 1/4-inch cord. Sometimes electronic pianos will also use stereo or XLR cords. In addition to using an amplifier to hear the electronic piano, you can also use the headphones that can be plugged directly into the keyboard, mixing console, or amplifier. It is not uncommon for many keyboardists to use a bass or guitar amplifier. These work fine. However, to get the best sound, it is recommended to use the amplifier that is specifically created to be played with an electronic piano. Much like acoustic pianos, it is also important that the electronic keyboards use pedals. There are always inputs for sustained pedal and MIDI connections. The sustained pedal performs the same function as it does on the acoustic. However, the cables are often weak and break on occasion. Fortunately, these pedals are readily available at most music stores. Note that some cheap and off-brand pedals may have reverse polarity. So instead of pressing the pedal to sustain a note, it does the reverse. And when you lift off the pedal, it sustains the note. Keyboard details. Maintaining an electronic piano is not the same process as an acoustic. These keyboards are tuned to the industry standard. This is generally set at A440 Hz. It is recommended that electronic pianos be tuned by a professional. However, it is important to note that some tuning can be altered by changing the synths. One of the huge attractions to electronic pianos is that they possess a variety of different sounds depending on the manufacturer and how much you spend. Most electric keyboards will give you basic sounds, such as acoustic piano, Fender Rhodes, organ, guitar, and various synthesizer pad sounds. Good electronic keyboards can also alter sounds through the use of two wheels. The first wheel is the pitch bend. This allows the user to play a note and actually bend a pitch, adding an expressive element to the sound. The second wheel is called the modulation wheel, or the mod wheel. This wheel is programmable and can be used to add special effects. These effects could include chorus, vibrato, and other exciting sounds. Protection and repair. Electronic keyboards can be very heavy, and moving them can be challenging. If your keyboard is heavy and difficult to move, be sure to find someone to help you. In addition, seriously consider getting a good quality keyboard case. This will run you approximately $200. This is a wise investment because repairing a keyboard will run you about a minimum of $75 per hour from a professional repairman. As a result of having a quality case, you'll be able to store all your cables in it and shield the instrument from the external elements. When you are finished using your electronic piano or keyboard, be sure not to store it in your car. Not only will you tempt thieves, but drastic temperature fluctuations may cause unwanted changes. The best location to store your electronic keyboard is in a place like a closet, out of the way until it's needed again. Conclusion. In conclusion, Dr. Lindeman has clearly outlined the do's and don'ts of quality piano care. As music educators, I ask that you consider if the use of your piano or electronic keyboard is used in a purposeful way. If it is used in performances and instruction, also ask yourself, is your instrument maintenance practice as strong as your performance practice? The piano is a beautiful instrument and a true pleasure to listen to. I hope these few words of wisdom from Dr. Lindeman provided some sort of helpful and reflective insight into the use of your piano inside and outside of the classroom. Ladies and gentlemen, that is all we have for today. I want to thank you again for joining me for another episode of the Music Educator podcast. It is a true pleasure to collaborate with lovers of music, educators like you. If you found value in today's episode, please feel free to comment and rate us on the TME podcast app, Apple Podcasts, or any other podcast aggregator. Also, check us out on the blog at bandbuzz.org, our podcast website at www.themusiceducatorpodcast.com, or TPT or Boom Card stores. That is all for today. Have a great week.
Thank you for listening to the Music Educator podcast. For the latest tips, tricks, and practical advice you can use tomorrow. You can subscribe to our podcast on every podcast aggregator or download the Music Educator app for free in the Apple or Google Play app stores. Furthermore, visit our blog at www.bandbuzz.org for additional music education resources. We will see you on the next episode of the Music Educator podcast. And remember, music can change the world.